Hello, today I'm going to be interviewing Kim Jennings, who is going to be talking about when dementia is not dementia. Hello Kim, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Kim, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I have a background for the last 25 years working in the fitness industry and sports medicine. Last 15 years I specialised working with seniors and developed an exercise book for seniors as well. I've specialised in dementia clients and working with clients who have Parkinson's as well. So for the last 15 years I've specialised in that area and field as well.
How did you meet Dell?
Adele is a client of mine who was referred to me by another set of clients that I was working with.
What were your first observations of Dell?
When I very first interviewed Dell to become a client of mine that I could work with her, I noticed that she was non-communicative. She had a very vacant look on her face when I first interviewed her. I was extremely concerned of how I could help her with an exercise program.
What medications had Dell been prescribed?
In the beginning I wasn't informed of any medications. I did ask and the family didn't seem to quite know. One day I was going through some medications on the bench to discover Dell had been on an antidepressant called lithium. It was originally prescribed for her for the change of life. She was a bit depressed at that time. Unfortunately she stayed on it for over 20 years.
Kim, what effects did lithium have on Dell?
It's been proven that any antidepressant long term has serious side effects. In Dell's case, lithium is one of the strongest antidepressants, and unfortunately with an MRI it has shown that some brain cells have died off. I just want people to be aware of any medications that are long term. There could be some serious effects, so you just want to be mindful of that.
Dell was diagnosed by the doctors as having dementia, is that correct?
That is correct, but I couldn't understand why, because to me she never ever presented of having dementia. I couldn't work out or understand why doctors would say that about her. It just didn't add up to me. She didn't present to me with classical symptoms of dementia. Her family really believed she had dementia because she believed her family doctor. So I couldn't understand why she had presented to doctors as that. I guess in the long run doctors sometimes when you're over 50 might think that it's just easy to say you've got dementia and they don't have enough time for older patients. I'm not sure.
So Kim, what were your observations of Dell that led you to believe that she wasn't suffering from dementia?
To me she presented signs of just pure vacant at times. She just wasn't there, she wasn't plugged into any life, any conversations. She could sit in a room and have no music, no television, nothing on at all. And then when I started working with her I noticed that she'd actually start walking to the left. She shuffled a lot when she walked, and if she had a fall she would actually fall to the left. So none of that added up to me as dementia. I actually started to ask the questions of the family. I started writing notes to their local GP. I actually asked questions like, has Dell had a stroke? Has Dell had a fall? Has she hit her head? No one seemed to be able to answer those questions. The GP certainly ignored all my notes I sent along with Dell. Apparently it all started 10 years ago for Dell. She started shuffling and the family noticed her shuffling, not walking properly. And the family noticed that she started to drive the car to the left, so they actually had to stop her from driving because it was getting quite serious. So basically doctors just assumed she had dementia and left it at that. I could never see that that was the case.
So Kim, from your observations working with Dell, what course of action did you take to help her?
I had to specifically write an exercise program for Dell to ensure that we kept all her muscles really strong. I also want to incorporate stretching, so we would actually work the left and right hand side of the brain. It's really important that exercise keeps your brain fit as well, not just your muscles and bones. The stronger your muscles are as a senior, the better off you are, because if you've got very strong muscles and you had a fall, you'd be bouncing off your muscles and not breaking bones. So for me as a personal trainer and sports medicine counsellor, it's important that anyone has strong muscles because it protects your whole body from being injured. So I had to develop a specific program for Dell, and it was very successful, I must say, for a time.
That sounds interesting, Kim. What other exercises did you do to help with Dell's rehabilitation?
I also included a writing and reading program with Dell. I did jigsaw puzzles with her. I wanted to encourage her to plug back into life so she could actually start communicating again with her family. But what I did notice is that Dell would actually speak to me more than her family. What happens is I've noticed with other actual dementia clients, the adult child tends to take over the parent and treats the parent like a child because it's really sad that the adult child thinks they have to do everything for their parent. And in Dell's case, because it was quicker to speak on Dell's behalf, because it was quicker to drag Dell around the kitchen instead of letting her walk for herself, unfortunately the family took the very essence of who Dell was away from her. So Dell, towards the end, before surgery, didn't have a very good quality of life.
So Kim, how long were you working with Dell?
I've been working with Dell now for just over 4 years.
So during that time, did you see an improvement in Dell?
In the beginning, Dell did improve. I have to say she really did, and then it was a maintenance program. But in the last 8 months, I think November last year, October last year, we started to notice Dell had a rapid increase of decline in her walking, and she was incontinent, and she was just getting harder to work with. You couldn't encourage Dell to do anything.
Okay, Kim, what course of action did you take after noticing Dell's rapid deterioration?
I spoke to her husband and wanted to send Dell to as many specialists as I possibly could. As I said, I thought she might have had a fall, I thought she might have had a stroke, a mini stroke. I was very concerned of where she was heading. So we went to many different specialists who kept saying she has dementia, go home. I wasn't very satisfied with that at all. And in November, I actually happened to be up early one morning before I went to work, and I saw Good Morning America. And there was a couple on there, and a gentleman actually had all of Dell's symptoms, where she was shuffling, had incontinence, lack of communication skills, had checked out of communicating with the family or with anyone. And apparently his symptoms actually started in the same time frame as Dell's 10 years prior. Now in America they had some really advanced surgery, which was to lead to this gentleman having fluid on the brain. Now their surgery in America that only had 200 surgeries, he was one of them, and they actually drilled a fine hole in his skull and they pinpointed where the fluid was with a very fine cannula. They actually removed the fluid from his brain. In his case, it was an instant repair. He was a whole new man basically straight away.